Hello friend, welcome. My name's Dan, or JK. Call me whatever you like. Today I'm going to talk about money, one of my favorite subjects, and something I dwell on way too much. But my day job for a number of years was in accounting, so the preoccupation with numbers and money is understandable. I'm going to explain exactly how much I've made in my 13, 14 year career as a self-published author right at the beginning of this video, so that if you just came here for the numbers, you don't have to listen to the rest of my rambling or look at my crazy hat, which, by the way, my wife made this hat, so be kind on it in the comments. But yeah, it's a hot day here today, and I'm out in my beautiful outdoor office, which is wherever I find a spot of shade. So with that, let's get on to it, shall we? Now, the title of this video today is a little bit misleading, and I did that on purpose. The correct answer to the question of how much has my books earned is actually all of those numbers, and I'm going to explain why. I write mostly historical fiction under J.K. Swift and speculative fiction under Dan Redwater. I've been self-publishing since 2011, and I've experimented. I've had my books wide. I've had them in KU. I've been around since long before KU was a thing, and so I've actually collected all these numbers from my tax returns, so they are accurate. Now let's pull up something for you to look at here. I'll put something on the screen, but in a nutshell, my books have earned $322,874 since I've been self-publishing. Now, that's not what has gone into my bank account, because all the retailers, whether it's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Smashwords, Draft to Digital, they all take their cut. So after the retailers have taken their cut, what I have gotten in my bank account is actually $226,012. Now, that still is not quite finished yet, because I got to pay all my expenses, all my covers, my editing, pay for my websites and my computer, and the odd dinner that, I take someone out to ask them a bunch of historical questions, that kind of stuff. All those expensive dinners that I take my wife out on. Those advertising and production expenses have amounted to $45,000 and change. So my net profit from my writing since 2011 is $180,480. Now, if you were to average that out over all those years, it's not a lot of money, but I'm very happy with it, and I'm grateful for each and every dollar that someone has spent on one of my books. It's a great feeling to know that someone is interested in what you have to say or what you have to write. So I'm not complaining in the least, and I think it's important that I put these numbers out there just for the people who are looking at this as a career, as a side hustle, what have you. It's important to have data when you're trying to make a decision, and it doesn't matter if you've been considering a traditional publishing career or a self-publishing career. I think the more data you have, it prepares you better for all eventualities. Some authors say that if they would write even if they weren't paid. I'm not one of those. I write because I need to make a living, and I need my books to pay for my habit, so to speak. Basically, I write stuff that interests me, and I do my best to make a buck off of those books because I have to. I'm not independently wealthy. I can't afford to spend 2 years writing a novel and then lose money on it, which I have done. So, if I were to keep doing that, then I would just have to stop publishing altogether. So I'm very, very motivated to make sure each and every product that I put out is profitable for me. Now, that being said, I would probably still write even if there was no hope at all of ever making another cent in the future. However, I would not publish that material. I think that's about it for the numbers part of this video. So if you just came here for the numbers and don't want to look at my sweaty red face, I completely understand. But now I'm going to dive into kind of my second favorite topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, which actually is not my second favorite topic. I hate talking about myself. Like, I'm sure most of you out there too. If you're a writer, you're an introvert, you like hanging back and not sharing a lot of details with the public. So when did I actually start writing? I wrote a little, like every kid does in elementary school, high school, like you have to do for class, but I never finished anything until 2011. But I dabbled starting in college when I was about 20, I would say. I actually started working on a novel. And that novel, no, you can't read it, and no, it's never going to see the light of day because, well, for one, I never finished it. And for two, I don't want anyone to see that thing. So, anyways, but at that point in time, I remember thinking that I had one novel in me. I remember hearing someone say, everyone's got a novel in them, Sonny. And I thought, yeah, I think I got one novel in me. I could write one novel. And I was taking a trip home from university. I picked up a paperback at a bus stop, and I remember reading that thing, and I thought, this is a great story, but, I think I could write something like this. And being the cocky young kid that I was, I started writing something the very next day, and got about, 10,000 words into it, and said, oh man, this is hard work. I don't think I'm going to do it, and shelved it. Over the next, 10 years, I started and stopped a few writing projects, and in the back of my mind, I always thought that I still had that novel in me somewhere, and I thought I could get that out at some point in time. Yeah, I shopped a short story around for a couple of years because in about 2004 to 2011, in that 7-year period, I wrote a few short stories and shopped them around the various magazines because I was told that's how you got a foot in the industry. You just had to get published in a magazine. So that's what I did. I bought a bunch of stamps and sent self-addressed stamped envelopes and mailed them out and got a bunch of rejection letters. And some were nice, some were foreign ones. But then in 2011, my wife gave me a Kindle, and she said, why don't you just publish your stories on Kindle? It looks like some people are doing that. And I thought, really? You can do that? And there we go. A monster was born. I wrote a couple of short stories, put them up on Kindle, and then I started working on a novel, a new novel, not one of those old ones that I started and shelved. And that novel would be Altdorf. the Forest Knights book one, if you've read any of those. But I'll get into that. I'll go into a deep dive into my different projects and stuff in a different video. For now, I just want to give you an idea of how I got into this mess that I'm in right now. If you have any specific questions, please put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you.